graphic novel that's out now. You just came. Well, it'll be out soon. You finished it. The copy of it will be out soon for people. Just for people who might not be at the trial, because the artistry is really good. I really appreciate your stuff. So it shows like a real good account of people, inside the courtroom for people who weren't there. So just get into that and how long it took to come up with put it all together and then put it to print.
So I'd been working on these sketches of the trial or pre-trial, starting in 2011, and then I didn't feel really good about them until 6 months later. I started to kind of figure out my style, figure out how to get what I wanted in a composition, and what materials I was going to be using. And so after I'd figured out my style, I thought, man, this is kind of this cross between courtroom sketch art, which is a little bit more impressionistic. Maybe the use of pastel is a little bit looser, and it was a little bit of a cross between that and comic book or more illustration style. And so I felt like, wow, this I've got this empty space in the top. I'd like to put speech bubbles in and have them saying what is actually being said here, and if I put enough of these together, it could kind of tell a story. And so after covering that for like 15 months, I decided I have enough here to make a book. Especially after the trial, I'll have a lot more. And so I hooked up with OR Books, and I felt that they were a great choice because they had printed or published Chase Madar's book, Passion of Bradley Manning. They had just published Julian Assange's Cypherpunks. They had also published some other books I liked, Occupying Wall Street, Reverend Billy Talon's book, The End of the Earth, or End of the World, excuse me, as well as Beautiful Trouble. And so I was interested in what they were publishing, and they were interested in a story from inside the courtroom. And so I set out to kind of as concisely but comprehensively pull it all together into a chronological order, so that you could start with first day of the proceedings, go all the way to the sentencing, and be able to understand it without ever having been there, understand it without even ever having read anything about it prior, and put all these kind of legalese terms in a context that would be easy to understand for, I think, a high school student could read the book and totally get it. They might have to do a little, check a word or two if they hadn't watched Law and Order or any kind of legal TV show, right? I wanted it to be, just the trial in your hands, and no one I felt was doing that. Everyone else that was there was writing stories for the day, but I wanted to be able to what I was able to do was I had a vision for the end of what it was going to look like, and as the proceedings happened, I would kind of add to that and take notes of what was the most interesting thing that happened that day, or what I felt was kind of going along with the storyline for the book, and pull it all together. And it's interesting. I think it would make, if somebody wanted to make a movie about this trial, I think this book has got all of the text that you really want for it, all of the witnesses and the characters, and both sides. I kind of had to muster up the ability to draw objectively as much as I could. I just tried to draw exactly what I saw and then also, edit this thing objectively in a way so that, taking was probably like 30,000 pages of transcripts and condensing it down to 200 pages. They're kind of words they're trying to be fit in with pictures. So more like 100 pages of a small book. So really trying to figure out, what is the most important thing. How do we not repeat anything so that, any point that's made, it's made once. It doesn't have to be made again and again. And try to cover all 22 charges. Even if some of them, like the Reykjavik cable, is just a brief mention. And so, I felt like it just needed to be done so that anyone, after the trial wouldn't have to go piecing together through these different dates of when it happened, sit through, read all of the transcripts or whatever. I wanted something that, you could just enjoy this book in one sitting, in one reading, and not have to click through it. And as far as I know, no one's made a book about the trial. People made books leading up to the trial, but as far as, inside perspective view, that's why I was trying to literally put you in the best seats in the house. Some of the best angles were from the live streams, because they were from this point of view where no one was sitting. They were these cameras from overhead, but also sitting in the jury box to get these great views. Manning's profile and as well as the prosecution and defense, standing at the podium, we're 10 feet away, and so really came more detail. Whereas I really couldn't from sitting back in the gallery with the public. You're getting a lot of just the backs of their heads. So it was great to have this opportunity to tell this story, despite the fact that I wish I never had to tell the story at all. I from the very beginning, I wish they had pinned a medal on Manning and or said, thanks, but you need to leave the military. Maybe you need to leave the country. I would have supported, a safe, deportation to Wales for Manning's, because I've always been concerned that if Manning was let to go, that she would be retaliated against somehow. And I felt that way specifically one day as Nathan Fuller and I were driving onto the base to go to the trial, and one of the security guards at the front gate asked us where we were going, and I said, we said we're going to the court, and that's when the security guard said, "No, I hope they take him out back and shoot him." Well, that is not any way for somebody guarding a base, which is guarding anyone going to this trial, to be talking about somebody who hasn't been convicted of a crime yet. And especially to journalists who are going. So on that particular day, I tweeted out what had happened. But then I also went and talked to somebody who was a government official for another government, somebody who's working for an embassy for another country, who was there as just a witness. I talked to them and said, "Was there anything different about coming into the base this morning?" And sure enough, she was, "Yes, definitely. I wrote it down. In fact, this guy told me that the security guard said they should shoot him out back. Same thing they had said to us." So he was telling everyone, supporters. And so at that point, I went to the public affairs office and said, "Look, you've got a situation you need to deal with." I said, "I've already tweeted out." but you need to deal with this and make sure this never happens again. There'll be a full story on it the next time. And so apparently that was resolved somehow, they internally, however they do it. But I've received death threats, and certainly shortly after the release, we had people like Bob Bickel on Fox News saying illegally shoot the son of a bitch, when referring to Assange, as though we could just go and murder journalists, in this like war on journalists.
How to follow your work, how to get the book, the graphic novel, when it comes out for people to view it, or get the actual hardcover piece. Just anything else you'd like to add about that?
My work is, you can always see my website. It's clarkstoeckley.com or cstoeckley, same website. And then you can always go to my Twitter for the most recent updates, and that's Wikileaks Truck. The book is available only through OR Books, the publisher. They have a really unique format. They don't sell through like Barnes & Noble or Amazon. They really cut out the middleman, and they're the publisher, and they also fulfill all the orders. So you order directly from them. That's how we keep the price very affordable for the book. And so orbooks.com, and you'll see in their catalog my book, as well as many other great books.
And I'm primarily here to raise awareness about Bradley Manning and the video that I helped co-produce, because I feel that not enough people in the United States have seen it, and if they haven't seen it in a year, they need to see it again.
So it's getting better. I think what's important is that we need reasoned, expert coverage of what is happening legally, what its ramifications are on the First Amendment, and on military law, and that hasn't happened yet.